Warning: the following program may contain language and other elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been fucking warned. Hey guys, Johnny Farrow here, and welcome to another episode of Musician Kitchen. Today we're going to do two things. We are going to make killer Pico De Gallo, and we are going to make some rockin' guacamole. It's like my favorite thing in the world, this guacamole. So getting into it, we got our ingredients here. We have cilantro, fresh cilantro, tomatoes, these are Romas. We got avocados, jalapenos, a red bell pepper, onion, garlic, fresh limes, and then we have olive oil, salt, pepper, my Musician Kitchen Tex Mex seasoning, and some balsamic vinegar. Now, if you didn't see it before, there is a video on how to make the Tex Mex seasoning. I'll put the link in the description below on that. And this, guys, you know, a couple of really simple, easy dips, traditional Mexican dips, just a lot of fun, and they're just delicious and they're refreshing, and I just love to eat them. I just do. So we're gonna start with our Pico De Gallo. All right, so first things first. These dishes, one of the things that's cool about them is it's literally you just throw a bunch of shit in a bowl and you mix it up and it's done, and bam, you got something delicious that's going to just make everyone at your party happy. Also, just of note, when you're making these, you can make them and serve them immediately, but they are always better if you let them sit for like an hour or two if you can, so the flavors in these dishes get to meld a little bit, right? So first thing we're going to do, we're going to slice up our tomatoes for our Pico De Gallo. These are Roma tomatoes. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Fuck beefsteak tomatoes. Do not buy them. They're crap. They're mostly water. They have no flavor. They're like, I don't even know what I would compare them to, but fuck them, right? So Roma tomatoes, vine tomatoes, those are what I always get. You know, or if you want to get like heirloom tomatoes and be real fancy, fine. Just get something with flavor. Just please don't buy beefsteak tomatoes. Don't do that to yourself or to your friends and family. So what we're going to do with these, we're going to start up by slicing them into like, you know, quarter-ish inch slices. We're ultimately going to do a fine dice on these, not like mince. I guess fine is the wrong word, but a small dice, right? This is a pro tip here. This is a serrated knife. I believe I've said this on a prior episode before, but I use the serrated knife for tomatoes. It just gives you a cleaner cut. It doesn't grab. It just goes straight through the tomato, no problem, especially if you have an older chef's knife or other knife that's not serrated and it's got nicks. This is just going to give you a cleaner cut than that will. So again, we're going to go through all of them this way. And then what we'll do with these, I'll do a few at a time. But what I do is you take each section, and I mean the ends and all. I mean, if you want to toss the ends, you can, but I just see no point because they're still good, they're still delicious. So you cut them into further strips. Again, you're going about like quarter-inch-ish. So right now I got pieces that are like that, right? So about a quarter-inch thick, like that. And then you just do your dice thing, baby. You know, and like, these are about, like I said, quarter-inch-ish dice, but it's not like anyone's going to like, you know, kill you if you do this a little bigger, a little smaller, and do whatever you like. You know, if you want a smaller dice, go smaller. You want it bigger and you want it a really more robust chunk, you know, I ain't gonna make fun of you for it. It's cool. It's still going to taste good. All right, whew, cutting that fast always makes me tired. All right, so we got our tomatoes all cut and nice and diced up. That's 8 of them in there. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to get to our onion, the onion. Nubbing off the ass end of it here. There we go. See what I mean about the knife? Not always the sharpest. Not the sharpest knife in the drawer, ladies and gentlemen. Can't tell if I'm talking about myself or my implement here. And I'll just start by cutting it roughly in half. I don't do the whole onion right away, by the way. I always have a whole onion on hand. But typically I won't use the whole thing. A little onion does go a long way. So what I'll do is I'll start with half and just kind of dice that up. And again, we're just doing like, you know, like a small dice on the onion-ish. Because you don't necessarily want to have that surprise chunk of onion just end up in the back of your throat. That's no fun. So again, as always, cutting like, you know, I'll show you like this. Cut into sections that are about, you know, again, about a quarter inch or so, give or take, not an exact science by any means here. And then just cut down like this. And voila, you got your dice. You know, and obviously these aren't like perfectly cubic shaped things. I mean, just onions just don't shape that way. I'm sorry. But you get the idea. So here we go. And this right here, that's what your onion should look like. Just a little, you know, like little dice. Bada bing. And then what I'll do here, I kind of measure this by look. So I'll take, and I usually mix stuff up with a fork, by the way. I don't get all into, I've never gotten into fancy like kitchen instruments per se. Okay, so looking at this here, you can already see it's a little light. We don't have enough onion in there, I don't think. You know, I'm probably going to use another quarter of the onion I got, and that'll probably make it just right. So let's go ahead and do that. And this is all to taste too, so if you don't like a lot of onion, you know, end off there. If you don't want onion at all, I mean, you can leave it out, you know, and just do the rest of the ingredients, and that's totally fine. No one's going to judge you, I hope. Though I can't really speak for everyone at your party. I hate it when it does that. Sometimes the onion will stick to your knife and they'll just kind of pop up on you and follow your knife out. So one of the ways it's one of the reasons it's kind of good. You can kind of use your thumb to, like, as you're pulling your knife out, use your thumb or your forefinger to kind of just hold the back of the onion in place so it doesn't do that. I just forgot to do it there. And once again, doing our dice. Trying not to cry because, you know, onions, right? Again, just breaking this up a little bit and then right into our bowl. And by the way, this is a wooden bowl from IKEA that my awesome wife got me. Marcy, aka Mixed Media Girl. And it was just really cool that she got it for me, and I appreciate it. Thank you, babe. Okay, so that's about right there. At least that's how I like it. So yeah, it's about 3/4 of the onion. That's for a medium-sized onion. If you got like one of those giant fucking like Vidalias or Walla Walla sweet onions that are really big, you'll get away with half, no problem. You may even want to start with 1/4 of it because some of those onions can get really freaking massive. But that right there is what you want to see, right? Okay, now, jalapenos. Pro tip, gloves. Wear them. And by the way, especially if this is like a date night thing and you're going to be getting all like, you know, friendly with your significant other, trust me, you do not want this shit on your hands, okay? This is like date repellent if this gets anywhere near their skin and they aren't expecting it. So, it's a pair of gloves. These are just vinyl gloves. And I have 2 jalapenos here. You can go with one. Honestly, I'll start with one, you know, and just see what it looks like. And I just start by nubbing off the end here. I handled these similar to how I handle like a bell pepper, right? Same idea. And then I cut in half lengthwise. And then I just kind of rip the heart out, so to speak. Just literally pull all the seeds and membranous stuff out. You know, and I don't get super picky about it. You know, there's like a little ridge of membrane there, but whatever, you know, it's not a big deal. Again, just ripping out. And you can kind of peel away at the bottom here. You can kind of pop the sides and then just grab and pull. And just kind of scrape out the rest with your fingernail there. And then brush some of these seeds out of the way. Have a garbage can on hand. I swear there's a garbage can down there. No lie. But cut these into a sort of semi-strip. It's not going to quite work because these things aren't particularly straight. They're a little crooked, you know. But basically, just cut into a strip, you know. Again, less than 1/4 inch on these, or around that anyway. I mean, they taper because they're, you know, they're odd-shaped. And then again, just do your dice. Very fine dice on these. Even smaller than 1/4 inch. I go really fine. Almost to a mince, but not quite. So like something like that is about what you want. So it's smaller than the onion by a little bit. Do my other one here.
And just watch out in case it splashes. You may want to wear, if you're particularly sensitive to this stuff, you can wear eyewear when you do it, because if this gets in your eyes, it's not like the end of the world, but it's sure as hell not fun by any stretch of the imagination. So I'm going to toss that in just kind of again. I'm actually going to go through with my knife once too and cut it down even a little more. What that does too, by the way, I mean, it increases the surface area of the jalapenos. It allows it to distribute more. So you may end up needing less of it, particularly if you really want the flavor, but you got someone that's not as into super spicy. Doing this will help it to distribute, so you'll have the flavor distribute a little more without having to add a bunch more of actual jalapeno pepper. It just makes it so everyone can be happy about it being there, hopefully. So I guess this is kind of more like a mince, really. Similar to how you would handle garlic. How we'll be handling garlic momentarily. All right, and so here we go. Mix again with our fork. Yeah, and that's pretty good for a mild-ish salsa. You're not going to get a lot of heat on that unless you got an exceptionally potent pepper, but it shouldn't be that bad. I'm actually going to go ahead and put half of this one in as a compromise, because, you know, marriage is all about compromise, right, ladies and gentlemen? All about compromise. All right, and that should be about what we're looking for. That's nice, lovely color distribution right there. You know, that's one of the things I like about this dish too, is it really is a visual for the most part, for me anyway. I do it visually. It's funny because it's kind of similar to how I play guitar. Here's a little parallel for you. You know, I mean, you can do things real to the book and measure things, and that's fine. But like when I play guitar, I don't actually know a ton of music theory. I know enough to get by, but I play a lot by ear and by feel, and it's kind of the same thing. Also visually by seeing what the fretboard looks like and what my fingers are doing. So it's kind of a similar idea to that. All right. Now, garlic. Because who doesn't love garlic? I don't want to know that person. Okay, for anyone that I may have just offended with that, I'm totally joking. I would still love to know you, even if you don't like garlic. And who knows, maybe down the line I can convert you into a garlic fanatic. Could happen. Maybe you just haven't had the right recipe yet. We're going to do 4 of these cloves. Now, 4 like, you know, small to medium cloves. These are actually bigger. So I'm actually only going to do 3 of them, you know, because these are pretty good size, you know. It's like the tip, like the size of the whole end of my thumb, which is like, that's a big freaking garlic clove, man. You know, by the way, on the garlic and on the peppers, so for peppers, you can pretty much use any pepper you want in your salsa, depending on how hot you want it. If you really just want pepper flavor but no heat, you know, you can put like a poblano pepper in there, and there's really very little heat on those. You know, if you want more heat, there's serrano peppers, habaneros. If you're a fucking lunatic, you can put ghost peppers in it. I don't know why you would, but you certainly can go for that if you want. For those of us that like to, well, never mind. For those of us that like unpleasant bathroom experiences, let's just leave it at that, right? So I got my garlic peeled, do a little smash, smash, smash. And then on the garlic, you know, there's also like, you know, most people just get regular garlic, but if you happen to get like the elephant garlic that's like giant, you know, those ones that are like the size of a frickin' finger, I would start off with probably half of one of those and kind of work your way up from there. So again, here we did our smash. Now we're just running the blade through a few times to get these nice and minced up. You know, and at the end of all this, you're going to want to taste, you know, what you got. And even though it's going to blend a little more as it sits, you'll have the idea of if you're where you want to be. And then, you know, much like mixing, you know, you'll kind of hear where everything's at. And then as things go through their final blending by sitting and just melding, which is kind of like the mastering process and recording, so to speak, you know, they'll all kind of finalize and become really mixed nicely. But you'll know when, you know, before that, if you're where you want to be. I hope that made sense. If not, I apologize for babbling, but it made sense up here, right? All right. So garlic in. Oh, that so smells great. I love, love, love the smell of this stuff as I'm mixing it. And as you mix, that's one of the fun parts, is that, you know, you're mixing, so you're agitating this stuff, and the flavors are unlocking and the juices and the aromas are unlocking, and it's incredible just smelling this, right? So we're going to leave that there for now. If we need more later, we'll add more later. Okay, so now, lime. We're going to do the juice of 1 fresh lime to start. And what I do here, another pro tip here on limes, is you roll them kind of vigorously before you cut into them. Just, you put your hand on top of them and just kind of roll them a little bit. That just frees up some of the juices for you, makes them a little easier to juice, especially with limes because they're smaller, so getting the edge on them can be a little bit tricky. And then just cutting in half. And we're just going to squeeze this puppy right over the top. And now, especially with smaller limes, they don't always have a ton of juice, which is why I have, I have enough to do. I actually have a bunch in my fridge, but when I do these dishes, I'll have like 3 limes handy in case I want to add like an extra half a lime or something worth of the juice into one of the dishes. Though this is actually pretty good. We're getting a lot out of this. It definitely is good that we rolled this thing before we dug into it. There we go. Beautiful. And I like a lot of, I just love the flavor of lime, especially in Mexican food. Again, if you want to start with half a lime and kind of taste it, you're more than welcome to. It's not going to be overpowering you with lime if you use the whole thing, but it'll be there, You'll definitely feel the presence of the lime. I'm going to totally take my gloves off now. Just realized I still had them on. Being careful as you take them off to obviously grab by the bottom and fold them over so you don't end up touching all the jalapeno juice. You just protect yourself from it. Kind of defeats the whole purpose, right? So good. Lime juice is in. Now, salt. Here's the deal with salt. I'm going to use probably like 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons. The salt does a couple things. Obviously, it gives it a little flavor, but more importantly, it actually draws the flavors out of all these things and helps them to blend better. Okay, that's the main importance of salt in this dish. And then we're going to do a little pepper. Fresh, finely ground black pepper. I'm going to do like 1 teaspoon. Again, at the end, you can totally do more if you want. This is all to taste, but we're going to start there. And I'm going to mix that in a little bit more. And that's the thing, too, as you go along, every step of the way you do a mix, and that actually helps things to blend as you're going along. So that even if you do serve this right away, it should be pretty well blended, and it's still going to taste fucking killer. Because you're just blending all as you go along here. Okay, good. Now, we got a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. The olive oil I use to it's like the rug that ties the room together. I don't know, it in a strange way, it kind of binds the dish, and not a lot, like about 1 teaspoon, 1.5 teaspoons, just enough to kind of, like I said, tie the dish together, kind of create some cohesion within the dish. And it does give it a little bit of a, sort of a mildly nutty flavor, I mean, I think so. I fucking like it. Then, secret weapon of choice, as always, balsamic vinegar. Not a lot, just a splash or 2. And what that will do is that will make the tomatoes pop. It really just draws the flavor out of them. All right. And that is fucking gorgeous. Look at that. Just look at that Pico De Gallo. Though we do have one more thing. We are not quite done with our pico, my friends. No, no, no. Because what is any Mexican dish, really, without fresh cilantro? And with the cilantro, I'm probably going to end up using, I don't know. By the way, when you get your cilantro, try to find cilantro that doesn't have a bunch of dead leaves on it. This is a pretty good looking bunch. And I'll just start chopping from the end here. And I'll start with that. That's probably like... By the way, I don't necessarily care about the stems getting in either. You're chopping this stuff anyway, so the stems are cool. This is probably like 1/4 cup of cilantro, packed, if you packed it. Maybe a touch less. And I just kind of run the blade through coarsely, just to unlock some flavors, and break it up a little bit. And again, going for look here, we start with this. Our little mix. And this is, oh my God, what I am talking about. And personally, I think that's cool. I mean, you can totally put more in there. I do like cilantro, but I think I'm going to leave this here. I think this is good because typically in my house, what happens is we put our salsas on, and then more cilantro goes on the top. So I know that people are going to be adding to this. So now I'm going to try it for taste here and see how we're doing. That's pretty great. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to do a little more garlic. We're going to go with that 4th clove, even though these are bigger. Other than that, it's pretty goddamn perfect, I think. But, you know, the other thing, I mean, like I said, this is what I'm tasting, but, you know, it will change a touch as it blends, so you can totally wait a little bit and taste it if you want. That's definitely not, like, off sides. I usually don't because it's pretty close at that point, but, you know, there aren't really rules in this. It's just whatever tastes good, right? Okay. And that's going in. Going downtown, boys. And it is, just so you know, the way I do it, I'm using closer to 1.5 teaspoons of salt, so it is a little bit, not on the salty side to the point where it's offensive, but you definitely taste the salt. So you can actually go a little easy on the salt too if you want. This is the way me and my family like it. Oh my God. Yep, that's the shit. So I'm going to go ahead and get this into a bowl here. You know, whatever bowl you like for serving salsa. Me outline in here, so I'm going with a big bowl, baby. And obviously this is great for dipping with tortilla chips. Tacos, this is fantastic. Hell, you can even put this on burgers and it's fucking delicious. Honestly, it's kind of whatever you want. It's just a gorgeous, incredible, delicious dish. So there you go, guys. Dish number 1, Pico De Gallo. Done. Stay tuned for my ROCKIN Guacamole. All right, so now it is time to get into some guacamole. Now, usually I'll use 4 medium-sized avocados for this to 6. At the store, the only thing they had that was ripe when I went yesterday were these giant motherfuckers, so I got 4 of them. So we're going to have a little extra here, right? But just think with that. Usually it's the medium size, like the regular size ones are usually like $1.25 a piece or something like that. These were a little bit bigger. So first thing we do for each avocado is I cut them kind of along their hemisphere all the way around where the seed is. Like so. And then give them a little twist, and they should just pop right off like that, right? Now, if your seed's not too stuck in there, literally what I'll do is with the back of my knife, just kind of grab it, just plant it in there and kind of grab the seed that way. Nice, easy way, and then the seed you'll see comes out nice and clean so you don't lose any of the meat off of the avocado that way, yeah? And then, I don't do like actually slicing of my avocado. The way I handle that is I go through with my spoon. Like I get a big tablespoon, right? And I'll actually kind of score it all the way down. Like make these little kind of division marks, right? So I literally go all the way down to the skin. Careful, don't go through the skin because that just makes it a pain in the ass getting the skin off. And then I'll go down the middle, right? So literally all the way down. And then I'll just kind of work my way around the skin. Again, being careful not to rip the skin because that just makes it a kind of pain in the ass to get out. And then right into my dish. Bam! You know, and then there's a little mess in there, so I'll clean out just to make sure I get all the meat. I freaking love avocado, so I hate to waste it, even the smallest little bit. So there we go. We'll do that with the other half here. Again, score all the way down to the skin. And then, you know, I'm doing like, breaking it into like sections of 8 or 10 or something like that, right? And cleaning out. And you can totally bring this out onto your cutting board and cut them if you want. I just find this to be way more efficient than doing it that way. A little less messy. These avocados are, by the way, with avocados, when you're looking for them, you want them to have a bit of give, but you don't want them to be like you touch them and they collapse. That's rotten. That's going to be shit, right? But a little bit of give, if they're kind of like tough, or if they're like rocks, you can let them sit on your counter, especially, you know, and it'll vary a little bit depending on the time of year. But in warm weather, it'll take a couple days for them to fully ripen. If they're hard, maybe 3 days. If it's colder weather, it'll take longer, maybe up to a week. And if they're a little bit hard but kind of approaching ripeness, you can let them sit for a day, usually in either 1-2 days max, and they're usually ready to go. And be careful as you're doing this. Well, there's 2 things to be careful of. 1, don't fucking cut yourself. But 2, you do not want to get pieces of the skin or the seed. You don't want anything but the flesh of this. Every other part of an avocado besides this green fleshy part tastes like shit. And fun fact, fun story, the first time I ever ate guacamole when I came to California, actually, somebody made it and they had left the seed in there. And coming from Buffalo, New York, you don't see guacamole a whole lot, and it's kind of a foreign thing. It always kind of freaked me out because it's a green, like it's fucking green, you know? But I tried it, this lady's avocado, and I loved it. My friend, friends to this day, my friend Darlene, incredible avocado guacamole. But then the seed somehow was still there, like somehow the pitchus was in the dip. And I actually took a bite out of it thinking, oh, it's part of the dip, right? Worst mistake ever. Oh my God, I was trying to get that taste out of my mouth for hours. And that's the thing too, is it's not like you drink a little water and that taste goes away. It like lingers in your mouth and it's disgusting. So, same with the skin. It's the same idea. So only eat the flesh. Be careful not to get any other part of this thing into your dip because it's just fucking gross. And alright, so we got our avocado our avocado is fully set up in our dish here, and that's what they look like. So what I do first is I break them up a little bit with a fork, right? Not like fully, but I just kind of mash them, you know? And like the salsa, every time you go through a stage or 2 of adding things, you're going to mix this again. So it'll break up more and more as you go. I do this to get it started because there's a lot of fucking avocado in here, and it's going to take a little bit to get it mashed up. So, you know, breaking it into stages just makes things a lot easier on your wrist and so forth. You know, so we still definitely got some chunks in here. Also, I'm going to get a better fork because this one kind of sucks. You can't have like a wussy fork. When you're doing this stuff, you got to have like, I mean, honestly, if you can even get your hands on like a salad fork, that's good. But you want something with a nice thick handle so it's not going to have a lot of give and bend so you can actually work this avocado and really kind of control it. Much better. Much, much better. All right, so now, start off with a little bit of salt, about a teaspoon. Again, for bringing out flavors and adding a little bit of flavor. Black pepper. Again, you're doing like a little less than a teaspoon, maybe like 3/4 of a teaspoon-ish, you know? Again, to taste, you're gonna play with this later. Now, our Tex Mex seasoning, our Musician Kitchen Tex Mex seasoning. I'm going to do just like a teaspoon of that. It's really just, it's not meant to overpower the dish. It just really is meant to give it that Mexican kind of flair, right? And again, if you didn't see the video on how to make that, I'll put that in the description below so you can check that video out and make your own Tex-Mex seasoning. All right, red bell pepper. Again, cutting in half, de-hearting these things. Just kind of rip the heart out. Just kind of scrape off this membranous stuff that's in there. Again, it's not, if a little bit's left, it ain't gonna hurt nothing. It's not like the avocado. You can eat every part of this pepper pretty much, seeds and all, and it ain't gonna hurt nothing. Cutting into strips. And with this, it's again a visual thing, and I will start with half of the pepper. I don't throw the whole thing in right away. So we got our strips, and this is a bigger pepper too, so we may not need the whole thing. And again, just doing kind of like, you know, small dice. So 1/4 inch strips, 1/4 inch dice, ish. And again, if you're a little off, I ain't gonna kill you for it. I think mine's actually a little bit, a little bigger. Toss that in the bowl. And at this point, we're going to do a mix. Mix down, mix down. Doing some mashing as we go here. Mashing and smashing. You know, and again, doing this a few times as we go along, it just makes sure that everything incorporates well, really gets in. Lovely. And that's pretty good. I am going to do, I think, another quarter of that pepper. By the way, traditionally, I don't believe guacamole has pepper or tomato or anything in it. This is just the way I do it. I like it. The red pepper has a smokiness to it that really complements the avocado nicely. And I just really like that about it. So I do this. You can by all means, oh shit, lime down. Oh, let me wash that off really quick. Suicidal lime. Anyway, you know, you can leave the red pepper out if you want to. I just really think it adds a nice smoky cousin to the avocado, to this dish. It's just a great flavor, and it gives it some texture too, a little more texture, because obviously you got the avocado, which is kind of just a smooth, creamy thing. This gives you a little textural contrast, which I really enjoy. So there's that. Bada boom. Oh my goodness. This is literally like Mexican food. Like obviously I like fajitas and asada and all that kind of stuff, but as far as like Mexican food goes, particularly like things to put on things, guac is it for me, man. You ever want to get on my good side, make me a good guacamole and, you know, give me some tacos with it, and we're golden. We're friends for life, I promise. All right, garlic, fresh garlic. We're going to do, let's see what we got here. These are bigger cloves. I'm going to do 3 of these to start. Get another head here. And I didn't expect my garlic to have such big cloves, so, but that's okay. I'm not complaining about that. This garlic's great. So like always, we do a smash. Take the skin off, same with the other 2. And then give them another smash to just break them up a little more. Whoa. Man, the food is running away from me today. I don't know what's going on here. Must have a Mexican jumping bean in this food or something. All right. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay. Into the bowl you go. And this is probably enough garlic, but I may use more because these are also bigger avocados than I usually get, right? Another little mix here. Get these incorporated. That is just looking so fine. Oh my God. Now another trick you can do with your avocado, by the way, if you want a really smooth guacamole, and if you also want to just save yourself all the mixing and just mix once, you can take your avocado before you do anything else and put it in a food processor and kind of pulse it a bunch until it's kind of smooth, as whatever smoothness you like. Then add it to the bowl and then add your ingredients and mix. You can do that too. That's totally fine. Okay, now we're going to do the lime. We're going to juice a lime into this puppy. Again, rolling the lime on the cutting board just to get those juices started. And you can lean into that too. You're not going to break the lime, I promise. All right. And these can be a little slick, so you can totally use like a juice or 2 to get the lime out. It's fine. But if you got a lady you want to impress, you know, while you're making this dish, or a gentleman you want to impress, I mean, I'm just saying. So we got our lime juice in there. Now, before we mix again, balsamic vinegar. Again, to bring out the flavor in the peppers and the avocados, it just really brings out and ties together the smoky flavors in this dish. Just a splash, not a lot. You do not need a lot. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of olive oil, much like the pico, just to kind of tie things together, right? And that'll be our final layer of things. So we'll mix and then we'll taste and we'll see where we're at. All right, let's try this and see where we're at. Oh, wow. That's pretty close. I am going to add another garlic clove. Again, these were bigger avocados, so In fact, I'm going to add 2 because these ones on this head of garlic are a little smaller. And in my house, we like the garlic. So we're going to do that. Like a boss. Alright. 2 more cloves coming up. And then this bad boy gonna be done. There we go. Get those in, get a final mix happening here. And this should be about a wrap, I'm thinking. Alright, one final taste. I'm going to sprinkle a little more salt in there, actually. You know, a half teaspoon. And a little more pepper, actually. Again, these avocados are big, so it's cool. Another half teaspoon of pepper. And it's interesting. These particular avocados I got, they're Haas avocados, but they have an interesting sweetness to them. Alright, let's try that now. I'm calling that done. That's the shit. Go ahead and get that into a bowl. Oh, just look at that fucking guacamole. That is exactly the kind of thing that puts a smile on my face pretty much any day of the week. And I use a rubber scraper on this because I do not waste my guacamole. We are getting every drop out of this puppy we can. Oh, yes. This is what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so there you go. You got your Pico De Gallo, you got your ROCKIN Guacamole. You are set to go for the game, the taco dinner, the tortilla chips to enjoy with whatever you're doing, for socializing, for just chilling in bed on a day where you just feel like being particularly gluttonous. This is fantastic. Whatever you're going to do with it, enjoy the hell out of it. These are so good. Let me know in the comments below how you like this recipe, and check down in the description for the recipe in case you'd like it in writing. Also for the ingredients for next week's video. And just let me know too, if you do something to, like, you know, spoof on this and do like a variation of it, I'd love to know what you did, and I'd love to try it myself. So guys, until next video, I'm Johnny Farrow. Have a great one. I'll see you later. Mwah.